my stepdaughter, 26 female, just made a move on me, 47 male. Days later, what she said exposed a truth I never saw coming. I don't know who I am anymore. Let me start with the truth most people don't admit. Sometimes, you find yourself in a moment so morally gray, so terrifyingly complex, that even you can't tell if you're the hero of your story, or the villain. Let me start with the backstory, because without it, none of what I'm about to share will make any sense. 14 years ago, I met the woman who would become my wife. She was in the middle of a brutal divorce at the time. Her ex-husband, emotionally manipulative, physically abusive, and a world-class narcissist, had turned her life into a waking nightmare. I wasn't looking for love when I met her. In fact, I wasn't looking for anything serious. But something about her pulled me in. There was a quiet strength about her, a tired grace that made me want to protect her, not out of pity, but out of admiration. 6 months later, her divorce was finalized, and that's when I met her 2 children. Her son was 14 at the time, her daughter 12. I had never been particularly fond of kids before. I'd always joked I was missing the dad gene. But those 2 managed to sneak past every wall I had built. They weren't just her kids. Over time, they became my kids too. I didn't adopt them legally, but emotionally, they were mine. Her son, now 28, is doing incredibly well. He's married to a wonderful woman, has 2 kids of his own, and we're close. We talk weekly, more than I talk to some of my own siblings. Watching him grow into a stable, kind, and grounded man after everything he endured as a child fills me with a pride I can't explain. Her daughter. That's where things get complicated. She's 26 now, and still my favorite girl in the world. I've been her rock through more than a few storms, bad breakups, emotional breakdowns, financial troubles, and some very dark moments. She has my heart, and if I could wave a magic wand and give her a pain-free life, I would. But she struggled to break the cycle her father set in motion. She keeps falling for men who treat her like her father treated her mother, weak, manipulative, sometimes cruel. And each time she's hurt, I'm the one helping her put the pieces back together. 3 months ago, she broke up with her most recent mistake. A controlling, selfish man-child I never liked. I was relieved, honestly. So when she asked if she could move back in with us while she figured things out, my wife and I didn't hesitate. It wasn't the first time she'd stayed with us temporarily, and we assumed it would be like the others, short-term, simple. A month later, we found out she was pregnant. That hit like a freight train. She was still reeling emotionally, and now she had to prepare for single motherhood. My wife was worried, I was worried, and my stepdaughter. She was shattered. But we rallied. We supported her. And because I worked from home and my wife doesn't, it naturally fell on me to help with the logistics, driving her to appointments, taking her maternity shopping, being a shoulder to cry on. I didn't mind. I loved her. I wanted to help. Today started like any other day. She had an OB appointment in the morning, and afterward, we stopped by Carter's to shop for some baby clothes. She was smiling for the first time in days as we picked out tiny onesies and booties. I made dumb dad jokes about colors and baby bottles, and she laughed, really laughed. And it made me feel like maybe things would be okay. On the way home, she opened up to me. The latest string of messages from Asshat. Yes, that's what I call him, had been especially cruel. He told her she'd be a horrible mother. That she was worthless. That maybe the baby would be better off without her. My blood boiled as she read them aloud. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I told her he was wrong. I reminded her how strong she was, how loved. I said things I meant with my whole heart, that she was going to be an amazing mom, that she didn't need him or his approval, and that we, my wife and I, would be there every step of the way. I told her she wasn't alone. When we got home, I parked the car in the driveway. She was crying, quietly, head leaned against the window. I unbuckled my seatbelt and turned to her. I put my hand on hers and said again, softer this time, "You're going to be okay. This baby is going to be lucky to have you. And we've got you, all right? Always." She turned to me with those big, tear-filled eyes, and before I could process what was happening, she leaned in and kissed me. Not a fatherly kiss on the cheek. A real kiss. On the lips, and she tells me that she wishes the baby was mine and hers. I froze. My brain stopped working. It felt like the world stopped for a second. I pulled back, stunned. I mumbled something stupid. Let's not ruin a good thing, and tried to laugh it off with some dumb line about how being with a pretty woman in her 20s would probably kill me. It was the worst joke I've ever told. She didn't laugh. She just looked away. The next couple of hours went by in a haze. I unloaded the baby stuff, cooked dinner like a robot, and acted like everything was normal when my wife got home. She talked about work. I nodded. My stepdaughter barely said a word during dinner. I don't think she touched her food. Now I'm in my den, pretending to work. My computer's been on the same spreadsheet for 4 hours. I keep sipping from a half-empty bottle of Captain Morgan and replaying the moment in my head. What the hell just happened? What did she mean by that? Was it the hormones? Was it some desperate cry for emotional connection? More importantly, what do I do now? Do I tell my wife? Do I confront my stepdaughter? Do I say nothing and hope it never comes up again? This isn't some casual slip-up. This is nuclear. This could blow up everything I've built over the past 14 years. Look, this isn't something I can go to a friend or relative about. I have been colliding with different thoughts in my head. First, she was in therapy as a preteen because of her father, so I know she is not averse to it. I remember the first time my wife told me about what her daughter had been through. It was our third date, the one where things started to feel real. We just finished dinner, and we were sitting in her car, the windows fogging up from our breath in the cold. Her hand trembled slightly as she spoke, voice barely above a whisper. She had a rough time with her dad. It wasn't just a bad divorce. It was worse. That was over a decade ago. I stepped into their lives when her daughter was still wearing braces and dyeing her hair wild colors every other week. She was a teenager, sullen 1 minute, clingy the next. But she warmed to me faster than I expected. Maybe too fast. Back then, I just thought she was happy to have someone stable around. And I was. I did my best to be. We are a family that has been abused in one form or another in our youths. That shared pain, unspoken most of the time, tied us together. Maybe that's why I was so hypersensitive when I met my wife and her kids. I had this ingrained need to protect, to shield, to offer what none of us ever got growing up. I used to obsess over shows like Law and Order, especially the SVU episodes, and not in a healthy way. They made me think too much. Too many times I sat there, sweating, asking myself if the abused really did become the abusers. That show cost me years of paranoia and way too much introspection. I don't watch it anymore. I can't. Maybe I should have been more direct verbally with my stepdaughter when she started getting older. When her hugs lingered too long or her eyes wandered in ways I didn't think were typical for a girl to look at her stepdad. But at the time, it felt wrong to call it out. Like I was the one with the problem. Like if I said it out loud, I would be putting something poisonous into the air that didn't need to be there. So I brushed it off. Or maybe I was too close to her. Maybe I did things a real father wouldn't have done, or at least wouldn't have done the same way. I took her to school when her mom had early shifts. I sat in on her parent-teacher conferences. I helped her rehearse her lines when she was in drama club. Made late-night snack runs when she had her period and couldn't sleep. Stuff the father of the baby should be doing. But he was never around. I guess I filled that space too well. Now I find myself haunted by these questions. Is this my fault? Should I have been stricter? More reserved? Was I trying to be a hero and ended up being the villain in someone else's story? I remember her once telling me, years ago, when she was about 17. Mom is lucky. She found the only good man out there. I hope I can find someone like you one day. I should have shut that talk down right there. But I didn't. I won't lie, it made me feel good. I was a different man before I met her mom. I made mistakes. I drank too much, I lied too easily, I cheated on women who didn't deserve it. But when her mom opened her life to me, let me into her family, I felt like maybe I had a shot at redemption. I tried to be the man they both needed. And now, I wonder if I went too far trying to erase my past. I know what the internet says. I've read the horror stories about step-parents being evil. I've seen the comments about false allegations too. And so I am terrified. Terrified that my own past karma will rear its ugly head and snatch away this fragile, beautiful life I built. That everything I cherish will be reduced to a headline or a whisper. Update. It has been a couple days since my stepdaughter made a pass at me. I still replay the moment over and over. We were in the kitchen. She was making tea, I was rinsing dishes. It was late, my wife was already asleep upstairs. She brushed past me, too close, then lingered. I felt her hand on my back, gentle, just fingertips. I turned around and her eyes were fixed on me like she was seeing something she wanted. Then came the words, barely a whisper. "Have you ever thought about me differently?" My stomach dropped. I didn't say anything. I just froze. Then I told her to go to bed, said we'd talk later. I didn't sleep that night. I thought about so many things. About my stepdaughter, about my wife, about what I should do. My first instinct was fear. I panicked. I thought about packing a bag and leaving, disappearing for a while to sort out my thoughts. But that would have been the wrong move, and I know that now. That would have made things worse, turned confusion into suspicion. Once I calmed down and started thinking, not just reacting, I realized I needed to do the right thing. But what was the right thing? Do I talk to my stepdaughter first? Do I confront her? Or do I go straight to my wife before Eliza gets a chance to twist the story? Every scenario played out in my head like a movie. Some ended with shouting. Some ended with the police at the door. Some ended with me alone in a hotel room, watching my life fall apart on social media. But I couldn't let fear make the decision for me. I needed to face this, not run from it. My stepdaughter deserved to be heard. Not because she didn't do anything wrong, she did. But because I have known her for almost 15 years. I've seen her grow from a girl who flinched at loud voices to a woman who fights for what she believes in. She has always deserved respect. Even when I disagreed with her. Even when I wanted to pull my hair out over her taste in boyfriends. God, those boyfriends. There was one, Tyler, who used to honk his horn from the driveway instead of coming to the door. I told her if a man couldn't walk up to the porch and shake her mom's hand, he wasn't worth her time. She rolled her eyes. Another, Marcus, was all charm and zero ambition. She dumped him after 2 months when she found out he still lived with his ex. But for every bad boyfriend, she came back home a little wiser. That's the stepdaughter I know. The one who tells me when she's scared. The one who watches documentaries with me when her mom is working late. The one who calls me dad on Father's Day, even though she doesn't have to. So no, I couldn't go behind her back. Even if I was scared. Even if part of me wanted to never speak of that moment again. Even if another part of me, buried deep and covered in shame, wondered if something I did had brought us to this point. I had to talk to her first. Because despite what happened, despite how complicated this all is, she deserves to be treated like a person. Not a problem. My stepdaughter deserves to be heard. I have loved her like a daughter for almost 15 years, and she has always been a young woman deserving of my respect, except for her choices of BFs. At first, she blamed it on hormones. I remember how she said it, all casual like it was just some random flick of biology that made her act the way she did. But I just raised an eyebrow and stared at her, like, seriously? Hormones? That's your play? She laughed nervously, but it was a hollow sound. The room felt too quiet after that, just the hum of the ceiling fan and the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards under our feet. Finally, she sighed and looked away, like whatever was eating her inside was finally forcing its way out. And then, the truth came tumbling out. Or at least what I think was the truth. She told me she had been in love with me since she was a teenager. It hit me like a truck. Not because I hadn't suspected it. There were moments over the years that made me wonder. The extra long hugs, the way her eyes lingered, how she always found a reason to sit next to me on the couch even when the entire living room was empty. But you bury those things. You explain them away. She's affectionate. She's kind. She doesn't have a father figure. But now, hearing it spoken plainly, it knocked the wind out of me. She said it was the reason she left home after graduating high school. She needed space, distance. Thought moving a few states away would help her get over it. She even thought she had succeeded, until every time she came home for a visit and compared me to her boyfriends. That's when the resentment would creep back in. Her words, they were always so disappointing. She laughed again, but there were tears welling in her eyes now, and I wasn't sure if the laughter was supposed to mask her shame or my discomfort. She went quiet for a second before saying, "It always made me realize how much I still loved you." 7 months ago, she came to visit us for a week, and she brought someone with her. The guy she called her boyfriend. The future baby daddy. God, I hated that guy. There was something so greasy about him. He had this jittery, hollowed-out look, sunken eyes, twitchy fingers. A permanent sheen of sweat on his forehead. Like he'd walked through life with a fog around him and was always half a second away from snapping. I saw the needle tracks even though he tried to hide them. I saw the way he let her carry his things, the way he slouched on the couch with his shoes on, smirking at me like he knew something I didn't. A career gamer, she had called him. But let's be real, he was a leech. A 30-something-year-old man sponging off anyone kind enough or stupid enough to let him. And my stepdaughter, for all her brains and ambition, had fallen for him. It made my blood boil. She dumped him a month after that visit. I wasn't surprised. But I didn't think much about it until now, sitting across from her, watching her unravel this twisted, painful history that led to the moment where she tried to kiss me. "I saw you and Mom weren't sharing a bed anymore," she said quietly. And I guess I thought that meant something. It's true, my wife and I had started sleeping in separate rooms. But it wasn't because of anything dramatic. I'm a ridiculously light sleeper. A pin drops and I'm up. My wife, bless her, snores like a freight train. We had an understanding, we loved each other, but we needed rest too. So I'd moved into the guest room. It was temporary. When we found out about the baby, we planned to convert the guest room into a nursery, and I'd move back in with her. My stepdaughter must have seen the writing on the wall and, in her head, it spelled out a last chance. That day, she thought if she made her move, something would shift. That I would choose her. That we could somehow become a new kind of family, all under one roof. I don't know where she got that idea. Maybe from some warped fantasy. Maybe desperation makes people stupid. "I thought maybe you'd move into my room instead of Mom's," she admitted, her voice cracking. There was a long silence after that. A suffocating, soul-splitting silence. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But mostly, I wanted to rewind time and find whatever moment had given her the wrong impression, and crush it. "You knew it was wrong," I said finally. "The moment I pulled away, you knew." She nodded. "Yeah. I knew. I convinced myself otherwise." And she really did seem sorry. Not crocodile tears. Not manipulation. Real regret. She looked like someone who'd just set fire to their own house and realized too late they had no place left to go. She said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been holding it in for years, and I didn't know how to deal with it anymore. It was tearing me apart." I was quiet. Processing. Swallowing the weight of everything she'd said, everything she'd done. Everything I may or may not have contributed to over the years by simply being close, kind, or human. "I told you I was going to talk to your mother," I said, voice low but steady. "But you need to understand something first. This can never happen again. Ever. What you want. It would destroy everything I care about. That includes you. And I will not let that happen." She didn't respond. Just nodded, wiped her face, and folded into herself like a child again. I hated how broken she looked. But more than anything, I hated the weight of what came next. The conversation I would have to have with my wife. And yet, I knew it had to happen. Because silence, in this case, would be the true betrayal. When my wife came home, I let her know we needed to talk. Not one of those casual, "we need to talk" moments either, I meant it. I could see the tension already lining her shoulders as she dropped her keys in the bowl by the door. She looked at me, read my expression, and instantly her face tightened. "What happened?" she asked. Not angry, not even scared. Just tired. "We need to talk. All of us. But I should tell you what happened first." She stared at me for a moment, her arms folded, weight shifting. I could tell her mind was scanning for possibilities, the way someone flips through a Rolodex of worst-case scenarios. She didn't say anything at first, just nodded for me to go on. I told her. I laid out everything, from our stepdaughter's unexpected past to the conversation that followed. I gave her the facts without dramatics, without excuses. Just the truth. I expected anger. Maybe tears. What I didn't expect was what she said next. "Honestly," she said, her voice dry, "I would have expected this 10 years ago. I thought she'd grown the hell up by now." I blinked. "Wait, what? What do you mean by expected this?" She looked me straight in the eye, with that kind of calm that only comes when you've already made peace with the past. "She had a crush on you back then," she said. That's insane." "No, it's not. You just never see it. You never have. I've told you before, you're oblivious to how women flirt with you." I opened my mouth to protest but closed it again. Because truth be told, I'd heard that before. From friends. Even coworkers. I just thought people were being nice around me. I never once considered that kindness might be something more. She sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. I'm going to talk to her. Alone. Shouldn't we do it together? We will. But first, I need to speak to my daughter as her mother. Not just as your wife. So I waited. I sat on the edge of our bed for an hour, staring at nothing, rehearsing what ifs in my. I heard low murmurs from the other room, the occasional rise and fall of voices, but nothing clear. My heart felt like it was wrapped in wire, each beat tighter than the last. When she called me in, I stepped into the room like I was walking into court. My stepdaughter sat on the couch, her eyes puffy, red-rimmed. My wife stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder. It wasn't accusatory. It wasn't even cold. It was just resolved. Here's what we're going to do, my wife said. She didn't waste time. First, therapy. She's going back. She agreed. I glanced at my stepdaughter. She nodded faintly. Second, you're still allowed in the delivery room. She wants you there, and frankly, I do too. I know you. You're not a predator. You didn't invite this. I nodded slowly, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and guilt churn in my chest. Third, my wife continued, her tone now shifting into that of a mother issuing terms. We are setting some firm boundaries in this house. She looked down at her daughter. No more wandering around the house half-dressed. I don't care how comfortable you are or what you're used to. No more skimpy shorts. No more wearing just a bra. This is a family home. My stepdaughter opened her mouth to protest, but my wife held up a hand. And no more comments about your breasts getting bigger or any other changes. You're pregnant. We get it. We're happy for you. But your body isn't a topic for conversation, especially with my husband. I cleared my throat, feeling vaguely uncomfortable. I honestly didn't think that was flirting. I just thought she was sharing pregnancy stuff. My wife gave me a long, almost pitying look. Yeah, you're definitely oblivious. There was a brief, awkward silence. Then, finally, my stepdaughter looked at me. I really am sorry, she said, voice thick. I wasn't thinking straight. I got lost in something stupid. I nodded, not trusting myself to say much. The weight of the moment was too much to risk fumbling. My wife spoke again. We love you. But if this happens again, you're going to stay with your brother. And you'll know exactly why. We won't sugarcoat it. Another silence fell, this time with finality. The terms were clear. The rules were set. And somehow, despite the chaos of the past few days, I felt something resembling stability settle back into the room. Not peace. Not yet. But something close enough to keep us going, for now.